We're live from New Delhi. You're watching the India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Kurana, coming up in the next hour. No survivors after Russian military plane carrying Ukrainian prisoners of war crashes. Zelensky blames Russia for playing with the feelings of POWs. Russia seeks emergency UN Security Council session. NATO's largest military exercise since Cold War kicks off. Over 90,000 troops to join Steadfast Defender 2024 drills that will run through May. French President Emmanuel Macron will arrive in India to attend Republic Day parade as chief guest, expected to hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi with focus on security and climate change. And India's Rohan Bopanna becomes oldest player to reach men's doubles #1 to play the semi-finals of Australian Open men's doubles today. Updates now on Russia-Ukraine war. A heavy-lift military transport aircraft, Russian Il-76, crashed with 65 Ukrainian prisoners of war in the Belgorod region of Russia. The prisoners of war were being transported for an exchange in Swap. Russia said there are no survivors in the plane crash. 70 people were on board, amongst which 65 were captured Ukrainian army servicemen, 6 crew members and 3 escorts. Meanwhile, the Russian officials accused Ukraine of deliberately shooting down the Il-76 military transport and said it was carrying Ukrainian prisoners of war due to take part in a prisoner exchange. Well, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for full clarity on the circumstances of the crash of a Russian plane in a Russian border region on Wednesday. He accused Moscow of playing with the lives of Ukrainian prisoners of war.
It is evident that the Russians are playing with the lives of Ukrainian prisoners, with the feelings of their families and with the emotions of our society. It is necessary to establish all clear facts to the extent possible, considering that the plane crash occurred on Russian territory beyond our control. The Security Service of Ukraine is investigating all circumstances, and I have instructed the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine to provide our partners with the information available to Ukraine. Our state will insist on an international investigation.
And at a press conference at the United Nations, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov called the downing of the aircraft a criminal act by Ukraine and said Russia has called for an emergency UN Security Council session on Wednesday.
Ukrainian prisoners of war were being transported to the Belgorod region for the next exchange agreed upon between Moscow and Kyiv. Instead of this exchange taking place, the Ukrainian side from the Kharkiv region launched an anti-aircraft missile attack on this plane, which became fatal. We have already requested about 1 to 1.5 hours ago an urgent meeting of the UN Security Council, and we very much hope that the French presidency will fulfill its responsibilities and schedule such a meeting as soon as possible.
Well, on providing assistance to Ukraine, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said the aim of a European Union special summit next week is for all EU member states to agree to financial aid for Ukraine on Wednesday.
We will also use our talks today to prepare for the next European Council meeting in Brussels next week. The aim is to decide on financial aid from the European Union for Ukraine. You know the situation. Our aim is to reach a joint agreement between all European Union states as part of the revision of the EU financial framework so that 50 billion euros in loans and grants will be reliably available to Kyiv over the next 4 years.
Well, on the solution to Russia-Ukraine war, Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico said he did not believe in any military solution, adding he supports the Ukrainian president's peace plan despite calling it unrealistic.
I repeated to Mr. Prime Minister that I do not believe in any military solution to this conflict. It extremely bothers me as a Slav that the mutual killing of Slavs is going on maybe in the name of some geopolitical interests. Therefore, I said that my government will support any peace plan. Therefore, without hesitation, I supported also the peace plan of the Ukrainian President Zelensky, although I am convinced it is not realistic.
Also, NATO on Wednesday launched its largest exercise since the Cold War, with the US Navy dock landing ship Gunston Hall left port for transit across the North Atlantic to Alliance territory in Europe. Some 90,000 troops from the United States and fellow NATO allied nations are due to join the Steadfast Defender 2024 drills that will run through May. More than 50 ships from aircraft carriers to destroyers will take part, as well as more than 80 fighter jets, helicopters and drones, and at least 1,100 combat vehicles, including 133 tanks and 533 infantry fighting vehicles. According to NATO, the last exercises of a similar size were reforged during the Cold War in 1988, with 125,000 participants. Well, US President Joe Biden's Middle East advisor Brett McGurk is in Doha for serious discussions. On Wednesday, White House spokesperson John Kirby said the possibility of another hostage deal between Israel and Hamas is on the cards.
Brett's in the region right now, and while he's having lots of conversations on lots of issues, this is certainly top of his agenda. We certainly want to see another humanitarian pause put in place so that we can, again, get aid in and get people out. But how close we are to that and what the parameters of that are going to look like, how many days, and that's all part of the discussions we're having right now. And it would not be appropriate for me to try to speculate on where that's going right now.
Well, Israel has denied the responsibility on Wednesday for the attack on the UN compound in Gaza. The United Nations blamed Israeli tanks for striking its compound for sheltering displaced Palestinians, which caused mass casualties. The attack, which the UN said hit a vocational training center housing 30,000 displaced people in Khan Yunis. This incident also prompted outright condemnation from the United States. Also in the United States, an overwhelming majority of Democrats in the Senate on Wednesday reiterated U.S. support of a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The amendment to support a negotiated solution to the conflict was backed by 49 out of the 51 members of the Senate Democratic Caucus. The amendment also ensured Israel's survival as a secure, democratic, Jewish state and fulfilling the Palestinians' legitimate aspirations for a state of their own. Senator Brian Schatz introduced the measure as an amendment to an upcoming bill that would provide national security aid to Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan.
The nays are 11.
And North Korea fired multiple cruise missiles towards the sea off its west coast on Wednesday. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said that the missile launches were being analyzed by the South Korean and U.S. intelligence. Tensions have spiked on the Korean peninsula after military maneuvers by the South Korean and U.S. militaries in response to weapons testing by the North. Syed Abdul Hassan has more.
Tension continues to escalate in the Korean peninsula as North Korea fired multiple cruise missiles towards the sea off its west coast on Wednesday. Confirming the launch of missiles, South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said South Korean and US intelligence are analyzing the repercussions in the region. The latest firing of missiles by Pyongyang comes as the South Korean Navy's Special Warfare Unit was taking part in training along the east coast in Gangwon province, bordering the north for 10 days. In a statement, the Joint Chiefs of Staff said, "Our military has increased surveillance and vigilance and is closely coordinating with the United States while monitoring for further signs and activity from North Korea." South Korea has conducted rare defense exercises anticipating direct military strikes on Seoul by North Korea. Last month, over 1,000 South Korean military, police and emergency personnel took part in defense drills in Seoul. Given that the South Korean capital is only 38 kilometers from the military border with the north, it is seen as a vulnerable target. Since the 1953 war, the two Korean nations have been at loggerheads and have continued to develop the latest war equipment to take on each other. The US and Japan are assisting and training South Korean forces for several years. The US has accused Russia of having a hidden military pact with North Korea. Pyongyang's top leaders have been visiting Moscow to strategize wartime military cooperation, while Western nations have recently blamed North Korea for providing firepower to Russian military forces in Ukraine. Mohammad Absirul Hassan reporting for DD India.
Well, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un warned a failure to provide people with basic living necessities, including food, is a serious political issue and called for an improvement in the country's regional economy. Kim made the remarks while discussing regional development in a speech at the 19th enlarged meeting of the political bureau of the country's ruling party held between Tuesday and Wednesday. The North Korean leader also urged his party to bring about a swift change to raise the living standards of people throughout the country and close the gaps between urban and rural areas through its new regional development policy. Kim announced the policy at a Supreme People's Assembly meeting held earlier this month. And train drivers in Germany have begun the longest in a series of strikes affecting passenger and freight services on Doordarshan for 6 days. Experts have warned the rail strike will have a severe economic impact. The rail strike is set to impact thousands of passengers and could dent the economy with a loss of up to $1.1 billion. It is the latest in a series of walkouts over working hours, conditions and pay. Union GDL said it has rejected a pay offer made on Friday by German rail operator Doordarshan. Doordarshan has advised passengers to double-check in advance their connection and to book seat reservations. During the strike, tickets for specific trains can be used on other services. And in Lisbon, thousands of demonstrators walked towards the Portuguese parliament during a protest by police professional associations demanding better salaries and work conditions. The protesters gathered in a square in downtown Lisbon and started a silent march towards the parliament. Police Union Association said that the average hazard pay in the PSP was currently between 380 and 420 euros per month, while in the PJ it has reached 1,000 euros. In a statement, President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa said that professionals from the Public Security Police and National Republic Guard, as well as from other police forces, must have a compensation regime equivalent to that of the Criminal Investigation Police. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Thousands of Argentines go on strike against tough economic austerity measures and reforms by new libertarian president Javier Milei. In a bid to save the endangered species, world's first rhino embryo successfully transferred. Another storm hits UK with flooding affecting the city again.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such changemakers.
Watch Changemakers on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. Argentina's largest union started a 12-hour strike on Wednesday with tens of thousands of workers demonstrating in Buenos Aires against tough economic austerity measures and reforms by new Libertarian President Javier Milei. The action is the biggest show of opposition to Milei's plans for spending cuts and privatization since he took office last month. The strike was coordinated by the powerful umbrella union, the General Confederation of Labour, and comes amid major scrutiny of Milei's two major reform pushes. The new government says the austerity measures are needed after years of overspending that have left Argentina with huge debts to local and international creditors. And Colombia's Inspector General suspended Foreign Minister Álvaro Leyva from his role for a period of 3 months over possible irregularities in the tender process for producing passports in the country. Leyva last year declared the bidding process for producing Colombian passports void after just one company, Thomas Gregg & Sons, which was already making the documents, tendered an offer. And Tanzania's political opposition held its first major protest in years on Wednesday to demand constitutional changes to reduce presidential powers and reforms of the Electoral Commission ahead of a general election due next year. Protest in the commercial capital, Dar es Salaam, was called by the opposition Party for Democracy and Progress. Police officers accompanied the marchers. Protesters at the march said they were concerned about unemployment and the rising cost of living in Tanzania. Too called for constitutional reforms. President Samia Suluhu Hassan last year lifted a ban on most political rallies that her predecessor, John Magufuli, had imposed in 2016 and had eased other restrictions on media and opposition parties. Moving on, 60 Syrian migrants were rescued from a small boat off Cyprus after being stranded for days. The migrants, including 3 children and a man found unconscious, were taken to the hospital. The boat was found about 30 nautical miles off Cape Greco. All the migrants were dehydrated and had sailed from Lebanon on January. Authorities scrambled to rescue helicopters and petrol whistles after a merchant vessel reported seeing the boat. The occupants of the boat were all Syrians.
Line is good. Clear of the deck, move left. Moving left. Move left. At the step. Steady. Okay, steady.
Well, India and Russia discussed a new maritime corridor between Chennai and Vladivostok. India's Minister for Shipping, Ports and Waterways, Sabrinanda Sonowal, highlighted India's commitment to enhancing trade and security along the corridor and emphasized infrastructural development and collaborative efforts across ministries.
On the part of the Government of India, we have been taking adequate measures so that maritime security can be ensured for the commercial vessels movement, seamless movement. So that way, our concerned ministry is taking adequate initiative in this regard. And this particular Eastern Maritime Corridor will be a very, very important alternative to this kind of situation. And this is definitely going to provide us a lot of scope and to continue our seamless movement of our cargo vessels to those targeted destinations.
And UN General Assembly President Denis Francis has stamped India as a reliable and a highly regarded partner. The 78th President of General Assembly, Denis Francis, is on a visit to India and held talks with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar in New Delhi on Wednesday. The UNGA President supported reforms in UN Security Council, saying United Nations expect India to take the lead in bridging differences amid challenging times.
So reform of the council is absolutely necessary. If you are in a privileged position, you are not necessarily in a hurry to lose privilege. Reform is inescapable. The question then becomes, what is the formula by which this reform would take place. India has been a long-standing partner of the United Nations. India, in fact, contributes one of the largest numbers of peacekeepers to the system. And that is emblematic of India's commitment to multilateralism and to the values and principles that are enshrined in multilateralism. India is a mature, highly respected member of the United Nations. It is a leader in many ways. And I'm sure that that fact is not lost on the members of the General Assembly.
While calling India as one of UN's oldest partners, France has appreciated India for sending largest numbers of peacekeeping forces to the UN.
It's already a key player both globally and at the United Nations. As the world's largest democracy where unity in diversity has endured for many years, India can relate very easily to principles of universality. UN membership is more divided. As President of the General Assembly, I look to India to lead the charge in our quest to repair the trust deficit among member states.
And moving on, union workers at Audi's Mexico unit went on strike on Wednesday after failing to reach an agreement with the car maker for a new contract. The company's union leader said, with the company saying the two sides are far apart on a wage increase. Approximately 1,000 workers protested outside the Audi plant in the central state of Puebla, shouting, "We are workers, not beggars." Audi said the union declined its offer for a 6.5% salary raise and asked for a 15.5% increase. Last year, the car maker and the independent union of Audi Mexico workers agreed to a 9.4% salary raise, one of the highest automaker wage hikes in Mexico in recent years. Well, the U.S. Federal Reserve on Wednesday raised the rate on loans to banks issued under an emergency lending program that was launched last year. The Bank Term Funding Program that will now expire on 11th of March was introduced during the regional banking crisis in a bid to ease stress in the financial system. The decision to hike the rate has been taken after borrowing surged in recent weeks as institutions took advantage of the attractive financing scheme. And Storm Jocelyn hit the UK, causing flooding in York's River Ouse and causing a bridge closure in Tedcaster due to rising river Wharf. The storm marks the 10th named storm of the season to hit Britain, with flooding covering streets and submerging signs. The flooding affected nearby markets also. Well, the World Weather Attribution has found that climate change is the main cause of a record drought in the Amazon rainforest, causing drained rivers, endangered dolphin deaths and affecting millions of people. The study found that global warming increased the likelihood of the drought, drove extreme high temperatures and reduced rainfall. The Amazon, the world's largest rainforest, absorbs a significant amount of greenhouse gas, and the drought could worsen forest fires, pushing the biome towards a point of no return. El Nino, a periodic warming in the eastern Pacific Ocean, also contributed to the decline in rainfall. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Bolivians are expressing their dreams in miniature form at the Aymara Festival of Alicita in La Paz. The vibrant market, which translates to Buy Me, is an annual tradition where local artisan fairs sell miniatures related to personal wishes for the year. Scientists have successfully transferred a 70-day male northern white rhino embryo into a southern white rhino surrogate mother at the El Pejita Conservancy in Kenya. The last male northern white rhino died in 2018, leaving only 2 females. The Biorescue Consortium is working to save the endangered species, which used to roam freely in Africa. Cuba's Jazz Plaza Festival opened with American pianist Aaron Goldberg, Cuban drummer Oliver Waltz and double bassist George Rees, aiming to build and protect cultural bridges between the two countries. The 39th edition features over 200 presentations by 150 musicians from France, Brazil, Spain, Mexico, Austria, Argentina, the United States and Cuba. Billie Eilish, Meghan Trainor and Doja Cat are competing in the Brit Awards International Song of the Year category. Eilish's song, What Was I Made For, is nominated alongside Miley Cyrus's Flowers and Libyanka's People. Singer-songwriter Ray leads the Brit nominations for 7 nods for Album of the Year, despite Blur and Little Simz' competition.
Calm down.
Monte Carlo Motorsports Rally begins in France's Gap today. Estonia's Ott Tänak set the pace in the shakedown stage, marking his return to Hyundai Shell Mobis for 2024. The opening event will begin with defending champion Sebastian Ogier. The FITO International Tourism Fair in Madrid featured 200 drones showcasing iconic tourist attractions like the Taj Mahal and the Eiffel Tower, organized by hotel chain Socotel to celebrate its 30th anniversary. The annual fair runs from January 24th to the 28th. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India celebrates 14th National Voters' Day as Election Commission of India marks 75th year of service to the nation. On National Tourism Day today, we'll tell you ahead what makes India an absolute gem in the world of travel. Cold wave conditions prevail in North India, with the Indian capital engulfed in dense fog.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. No survivors after Russian military plane carrying Ukrainian prisoners of war crashes. Zelensky blames Russia playing with the feelings of POWs. Russia seeks emergency UN Security Council session. NATO's largest military exercise since Cold War kicks off. Over 90,000 troops to join Steadfast Defender 2024 drills that will run through May. French President Emmanuel Macron will arrive in India to attend Republic Day parade as chief guest, expected to hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi with focus on security and climate change. And India's Rohan Bopanna becomes oldest player to reach men's doubles #1 to play the semi-finals of Australian Open men's doubles today. An Election Commission of India is celebrating 14th National Voters' Day today. President Draupadi Murmu will be the chief guest at the national function being organised in New Delhi by the Election Commission of India. Dedicated to the voters, NVD 2024 theme is Nothing Like Voting, I Vote for Sure, is a continuation from last year's theme. During the event, the President will present the Best Electoral Practices Award for the year 2023. Awards will be presented to the state and district level officers for their outstanding performance in the conduct of elections during 2023 in different spheres. On January 25th, EC celebrates its 75th year of service to the nation. To mark this momentous occasion and in light of the 2024 parliamentary elections, a commemorative postage stamp themed Inclusive Elections will be released. And India's Chief Election Commissioner has a special message for the 960 million enrolled voters of the country who will be playing a pivotal role in election process of the world's largest democracy in 2024.
Very warm greetings to all voters on the momentous occasion of the 14th National Voters' Day. The Election Commission of India was established on the 25th of January 1950, and that is why we celebrate National Voters' Day on January 25th. This year, National Voters' Day is all the more special. Over 60 democratic countries will have elections this year to elect their respective governments. India shall be the focus of all, as the world's largest and most vibrant democracy conducts 18th Lok Sabha elections and elections to around 8 state legislative assemblies during 2024. This day is an occasion to celebrate voters, youngsters in particular, as central to this great democracy of ours. During 2023, the Commission successfully conducted elections in 9 states, where more than around 16 crore voters gave voice to their cherished democratic rights and voted in an atmosphere of fairness, confidence, and joy. Elections were held peacefully, with no major incidents of violence and near zero repolls. In 126 villages of Bastar, polling stations were set up for the first time in independent India, where voters came to polling stations without any fear and anxiety. Women voters participated enthusiastically, even surpassing male voters in many constituencies across the 9 states. The Commission's efforts have meant 100% registration of particularly vulnerable tribal groups and to enable them to participate in the festival of democracy. In 2024, we'll be having the world's largest peacetime logistical exercise of movement of men and materials to enable over 96 crore voters to exercise their franchise, spread over 12 lakh polling stations through over 1.5 crore plus election officials. Big thanks and appreciation to our polling teams who traverse the harshest terrains to deliver democracy to the last mile. Our focus has been to make the electoral experience pleasant, all-inclusive, and inducement-free. Our electoral roll serves as a vibrant and diverse mosaic reflecting the rich diversity of our democracy. Recalling a few lines from Thiruvalluvar's Kural, it is compassion, the most gracious virtues, which moves the world. Reflecting this sentiment, it is the Commission's resolve to make our elections inclusive and accessible. We have over 81 lakh persons with disability as our voters, over 1.8 crore 80 plus voters, of which 2.5 lakhs are 100 plus age voters and over 48,000 third gender voters registered with us in our electoral rolls. Optional home voting facility is also available for 80 plus and PWD voters to vote from the comfort of their homes. Political parties are the pivot of our vibrant democracy. The Commission bases its engagement with political parties broadly on 3 pillars: full disclosures, complete involvement of them, and assured responsiveness. Going into general elections 2024, we appealed to the political parties for their continued support and assure them of our fullest cooperation in providing level playing field. Fostering an ethical and respectful political discourse plays a critical role in shaping the democratic process and in influencing our young voters in particular. It is imperative that political parties engage in discussions that inspire rather than divide, that promote ideas instead of personal attacks. Political parties, our biggest stakeholders, must become our best partners in ensuring an ethical journey. And for the first time voters, I would like to take this opportunity to appeal to them to exercise their franchise with full enthusiasm. It is our endeavor and duty to zoom along with zoomers, connect with the young generations to mitigate youth and urban apathy that we are witnessing of late. I fervently believe that this year, 2024, the youth will make a resounding and emphatic statement by coming out to vote in large numbers and also motivating their peers to do the same. Technology has been leveraged for transparency and process efficiency in all aspects of elections. While technology has made possible many enabling features to enrich the electoral processes and make them easier, it has also posed various challenges to the democratic exercise world over. Misinformation, deepfake, and use of artificial intelligence are being increasingly used to undercut the faith and trust of the people in the electoral process. We, however, stand very firm in our resolve to maintain a level playing field and foster an informed electorate. Any attempts to compromise this fundamental tenet through false narratives will be met with swift, strong, and robust measures to uphold the integrity of our elections. We are confident and committed to give India's approximately 96 crore electors and all stakeholders, including political parties, the best possible electoral experience, truly befitting the largest democracy of the world. Today, on National Voter Day, in the spirit of inclusivity, I end my address with an appeal to each and every one of you, particularly the youth voters, to take part in the ensuing festival of democracy with full vigor and enthusiasm. Jai Hind.
And moving on, French President Emmanuel Macron will arrive in India's Pink City, Jaipur today ahead of attending the 75th Republic Day parade as chief guest. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will welcome the President Macron in Jaipur, where they will visit various places of cultural and historical significance, including Jantar Mantar and Hawa Mahal. On Friday, he will attend the Republic Day parade, then a reception at Rashtrapati Bhavan. after which PM Modi and President Macron are expected to hold in-depth bilateral talks in Delhi, where security, climate change and mobility of Indians are likely to be the focus. Macron will be accompanied by a high-profile ministerial and business delegation. As strategic partners, India and France share a high degree of convergence on a range of regional and global issues. This year, two countries are celebrating the 25th anniversary of strategic partnership. Prime Minister was the guest of honor at the Bastille Day parade held on 14th July 2023 in Paris. President Macron visited India for the G20 summit on 9th and 10th September 2023. And for more on this, we have our correspondent Jessica Taneja with us. Well, Jessica, this is France's 6th participation as chief guest of India's Republic Day. French President Macron is reaching today in Jaipur. What all is lined up for today?
Well, as you mentioned on the itinerary, today is visiting the forts of Jaipur, the iconic landmarks of Jaipur, the Amber Fort, and of course, the long road show in the evening, which is expected at 6 p.m. But apart from all of these, events that have been planned out for the French president, we also know that there are important discussions that are going to be held between the two leaders, particularly defense, which has been the strong area of cooperation between the two countries. But we're also looking at the EU FTA, which, of course, has been in the talks for the last 7 years. The next meeting, we know, could be held in February. So, of course, lots on the agenda apart from defense as well. There's space cooperation and, of course, climate action. That has also been the point of focus between the two leaders, Nipakshi.
Right. Also, this year marks the two countries are celebrating the 25th anniversary of the strategic partnership, and now they will be embarking on common new goals for the next 25 years. What all there can be expected?
Well, yes, they've completed 25 years of strategic partnership. That was last year. And of course, we're in the 26th year. And on that note, another roadmap ahead for the Indo-Franco relationship was launched, which is Horizon 47, looking at what the two countries can do in the next 25 years. So far that we know, cooperation in the Indo-Pacific also sort of takes center stage. Remember, France had come up with the Indo-Pacific strategy, just like the other European nations as well. We recently had a concluded FTA, or reaching a concluded FTA with Switzerland the last 2 days. And President Macron and his visit will, of course, be more significant in the aspect that India and France have been strategic partners for so long. That there is a lot more that the two countries are perhaps planning to coordinate and cooperate on, and not just defense and security, but of course economic trade. If you look at the economic trade with France, it's our 8th largest trading partner, $19 billion worth of trade. That is something the French delegation will be looking into, and how to enhance cooperation when it comes to trade as well. And of course, the crucial FTA, as I pointed out, which doesn't, of course, rest with the French president. It's the entire European Union that would give a nod to it. But since the discussions have been going on, the French president for India certainly becomes a pivot.
All right. As you said, focus will be given on the economic trade. Also, special focus is expected on initiatives fostering student mobility, which is in support of France set to welcome more Indian students. What more can you tell us on that?
That's correct. And 30,000 students is what we're hearing that France wants to sort of let in the country, especially the skilled professionals. That talks of visas as well, and how workers' mobility can also be sort of chalked out when it comes to bilateral trade. And of course, the students who will wish to study in France will be given that kind of welcome. So of course, expect more on these kind of exchanges, especially education and trade, and something that enhances the ties between the two countries.
All right, Jessica, thank you so much for that update from there. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. The 4th edition of Rosma Orange Festival 2024 kicked off in India's Nagaland on Wednesday. The 2-day festival, celebrating the rich cultural heritage and succulent oranges of Nagaland, promises a colorful and engaging experience for the visitors. The National Ice Hockey Championship 2024 for men and women concluded on Wednesday with Indo-Tibetan Border Police winning in women's category at Union Territory Ladakh winning in men's category. The championship was organized under the joint aegis of Ice Hockey Association of India, Ice Hockey of Lahaul Spiti and Spiti administration in the Indian state of Himachal Pradesh. A theatre group from Thailand performed a play based on Ramayana at Tulsi Uryan in North India's Ayodhya. Performers from the Ministry of Culture of Thailand performed dance and staged episodes of Lord Ram during the event. $31.7 million have been received as donation for Ram Temple on the first day after its consecration ceremony on Monday. On the second day of the opening of Ram Temple, about 2.5 lakh devotees gathered for darshan. With tireless efforts, the administration finally started the multi-purpose pilgrim facility center of Ram Janabhoomi Tirth Kshetra Trust that helped organize everything. The newly constructed Kalagnar Centenary Jallikattu Arena in Madurai district in South Indian state of Tamil Nadu was lit up with colourful lights. The centenary hosted its first ever Jallikattu competition on Wednesday, with contestants attempting to grab hold of bull's hump with an attempt to tame the animal. And still to come on DD India News Hour. 6th edition of Khelo India Youth Games in full swing. Maharashtra leads the tally with 21 gold. Deepika Mumtaz shine as the Indian women's team decimate Poland in the inaugural edition of the FIH Hockey 5S Women's World Cup.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such change makers.
Watch Change Makers on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. An update on the Delhi weather. The Indian national capital faced another cold morning on Thursday, with cold wave and dense fog gripping the city. On Wednesday, cold to severe cold conditions prevailed in many parts of Punjab, East Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Haryana, Chandigarh and Northwest Rajasthan. Several flight operations have been delayed at Indira Gandhi International Airport due to low visibility amid the fog. And for more on this, we have a correspondent, Akshay Dongre, with us. Well, Akshay, what is the status of fog right now? What are the problems with the commuters are facing?
Well, Lipakshi, if you want to understand or rather have an idea about the status of fog, you can see behind me. You can barely see any of the houses that are not at a long distance. Yet we are not able to, have any sort of visibility here in the southern part of the national capital. And the situation is almost the same wherever you go in most parts of not just Delhi, but North India. The states like Punjab, Haryana, many parts of Rajasthan as well. Many parts of Uttar Pradesh are facing similar kind of visibility issues that have hampered a lot of plans of people who plan to commute for the upcoming long weekend ahead of the Republic Day. As far as the flight connectivity is concerned, in one of India's largest airports in New Delhi at IGI Indira Gandhi International Airport, the flight connectivity has in fact taken a hit. Many of the flights are running late. Many of the flights have been delayed. The running status of trains have also taken a hit as far as the foggy conditions are concerned. Many of the people who are supposed to commute in the early hours taking highways, they are trying to avoid commuting. Many of the emergency services are also impacted because of this sort of unprecedented foggy conditions that the New Delhi and in fact most part of North India is facing. It has been an unprecedented in terms because experts have also said that given the fact that we are seeing a lot of phenomena of El Nino or climate change, these kind of extreme weather events are becoming more and more more and more frequent. These kind of unprecedented weather conditions are being observed all around the world, and when we talk about India, these kind of weather events are being seen as well. So as you can see behind me, the situation is in fact bad. The visibility conditions are not expected to improve in any time soon. For the next few days, the situation is likely to remain the same. And as far as the minimum temperatures are concerned, they are likely to remain between 3 to 7% in most part of Delhi. And the maximum temperature is going to be between 12 to 14.
Also, Akshay, as you said, as we know that El Nino phenomena is taking place, how is the AQI today? What is the level of pollution there?
Well, with the fog, the smoke in New Delhi has been a hazardous phenomena, because the fog and the smog, when they combine, they become a deadly, or rather a heady concoction. They settle down, and when they settle down, it becomes a huge problem as far as pollution is concerned. As far as the AQI conditions are there, they have been fluctuating between severe to very poor. The healthcare experts have been warning people, especially the elderly and children, to not venture out. In fact, people, young adults, healthy people have also been advised to not do any strenuous exercise out in the open, given the fact that AQI has been consistently very poor and severe. And that is, in fact, another issue that the people of North India, especially in New Delhi, are facing, given the fact that the foggy conditions are likely to remain the same. The smog is also likely to be there for the next few days, unless the weather changes and there is a wind movement that in fact takes away the smog from New Delhi.
All right. Thank you so much, Akshay, for that update on the weather. And moving on, get ready to dive into the vibrant tapestry of India as we gear up to celebrate National Tourism Day on January 25th. It's not just a day of celebration, it's a celebration of what makes India an absolute gem in the world of travel. Watch this special report by our correspondent, Tapas Bhattacharya.
India, the cradle of ancient civilization, a melting pot of cultures, and a tapestry of religions, have always invited explorers to delve into its rich and diverse heritage. On National Tourism Day, let's delve into the significance of tourism in this incredible nation. India offers a plethora of experiences catering to every traveler's heart. From the majestic peaks to the tranquil beaches, India is a symphony of colors and textures waiting to be explored. Beyond the cultural and the natural wonders, National Tourism Day reminds us of the economic significance of this thriving industry.
India's rich cultural diversity, its monuments, its intangible heritage, these all combine to make it a very, very desirable tourist destination of all times. The Ministry of Tourism works on branding, promotion and capacity building for tourism. And in this direction, we have done a whole lot of activities to promote tourism in international as well as domestic markets.
Tourism is not just a journey for the soul, it's a driving force behind the economic prosperity of our nation. The tourism and the hospitality industry significantly fuels economic expansion, contributing to 4.6% of our GDP and showcasing the immense potential. The Forbes bestowed upon India the 7th position in its 50 most beautiful countries in the world rankings. Tourism is supplementary to infrastructure development. There are more than 3,650 archaeological survey of India sites in India, including 40 World Heritage Sites inscribed by UNESCO. The logistics and the tourist infrastructure facilities not only enhance the experience of tourists, but also promote development in the region. The Government of India envisions $56 billion forex, creating around 140 million jobs in tourism by 2030 through inclusive growth and particularly focusing on cruise tourism, ecotourism and adventure tourism. India, a vibrant canvas of experiences, captivates every traveler's heart. From serene beaches to majestic peaks, National Tourism Day not only celebrates cultural wonders but underscores tourism's economic might. Join us in celebrating India National Tourism Day, an initiative that not only promotes India as a world-class destination, but also fosters a deeper understanding of our economy. With camera person Banwari Daljwal, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
Well, you're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sports news. The year's first Grand Slam has reached into its semi-final rounds. The big names will clash for the final spot, while Djokovic and Aryna Sabalenka eye to defend the title. In men's single tie, Novak Djokovic will face Jannik Sinner, while Medvedev will take on Zverev in a fight for final spot. In women's single tie, Coco Gauff and set to take on defending champion Aryna Sabalenka, followed by Diana Yastremska's face-off with Qin Zheng. An Indian women's team beat Poland in an inaugural edition of the FIH Women's Hockey World Cup in Muscat, capital of Oman. The Indian team is led by experienced goalkeeper Rajni Itmarpo defeated Poland by 5-4 in Muscat. For India, Khan Mumtaz and Deepika Soring scored 2 goals each, while Kujur Mariana netted once. The Indian women's team is included in Pool C alongside the United States of America, Poland and Namibia. And India's western state of Maharashtra leads the medal tally at 6th Khelo India Youth Games, closely followed by Haryana, while Tamil Nadu are at the 3rd place. Maharashtra has bagged 21 gold, 19 silver and 23 bronze. The Games has witnessed participation of over 5,600 young athletes in 26 sports that includes archery, athletics and badminton. It will culminate on 31st of January 2024. India's southern state of Tamil Nadu is hosting the Games. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Vipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.
The